Whenever
right.
you're ready, Scott.
Joe, give me a thumbs up whenever it goes.
It's recording.
Oh, it's recording now. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Cut whatever we want.
Shall I moderate this time? And get Eric to start immediately on topic.
Well, I can.
Well, what is our topic this
No,
time?
so I can start like because
We're talking about persistent.
Yeah, exactly.
Tommy just asked what we're talking about, so I'd tell him.
Yeah.
Don't
If
hide
you
the
ever
truth.
He
have this
understands.
problem, right? If you ever have this problem,
It's pretty much a walking one right now. Yeah.
go. I know, right? Did you just call his son a dick? Dude, it's a child.
Okay, where are those rails again?
Don't forget to buy your
This-
food buckets.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. So
Soylent Green.
Nasty ass shit.
We can get them to
So-
Don't forget
sponsor us,
to buy
right?
your Soylent Green.
And if you want to sponsor us, please reach out to.
Looking for sponsors such as Soylent Green and what was the other one? Soylent Orange. And
Hey, that's over processed food. You just
Yeah.
if you're
Eat direct-
and if
eat
you make
directly.
bunkers or any of the end of the world type products, we are more than happy to take sponsorships from there. But welcome to From Here to Paternity. If you are wondering, wait, what the heck? I thought this was Four Dads and a Podcast. We had found that there's actually another podcast with that name, and so we had to quickly come up with our own new title. And I think that it fits with us a little bit better. So from here on out, it'll be From Here to Paternity. It is still the four of us. I'm Scott.
I'm Damien.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Joe.
And we're a podcast about men in this era of young adult age, and what it's like to be fathers, what it's like to have an opinion, and those opinions will not
Well, thank you
always.
for the compliment of calling us young adults. That's
Yeah,
nice.
we are. We're still
Yeah,
young
thank
adults.
you.
None of us are middle aged yet, but we're on our
See
way.
this gray?
I know,
You
right?
see the gray there?
Oh, it comes
What-
early.
What age is middle age?
45.
Okay.
I'm really close.
I know,
2
we are-
years,
yeah.
guys.
Yeah,
2
2
years.
Yeah. Never looked it up.
We're knocking on the door, right? And so
So we're late early, or late young
Yep.
adults,
yep,
or old young adults.
old
however you
young
wanna put
adults,
that.
very old young adults.
There you go.
And
yes.
so
Little oxymoron there.
the geriatric young adult. And so
There you go. Yeah.
our backs are hurting very badly. No, so
Dude,
That's
I took
true.
Advil this morning.
Sciatica.
In fact, where's that Advil?
right.
No
God.
shit.
Been cleaning all morning, waiting for the 11-year-olds to descend upon the house. So, yeah, I'm hurting already. God.
Everything's
Anyway,
dropping,
luck with
including the
that.
sperm count. And so with
Yes, on the daily.
and
I have no problem with that.
I know, right? We're too old for that stuff. Ain't nobody got time for that. And so with this podcast, we are going to have a lot of opinions. They are going to be explicit. So when you see the explicit title, that is a well-earned title for this podcast. So just be aware of that. Also, when we make these comments, it is our opinions, our individual opinions, and they're open to be inaccurate. And part of being a man, I think, is also
Some
being
of them will be flat out wrong.
Oh.
Even some of them from me.
absolutely.
And he will be
speaking of
unapologetic about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to apologize.
That's right. But being a man also means taking responsibility for your actions. And so when you're inaccurate, we will, make note that we were inaccurate. Whether we apologize or not will be another thing. But we will acknowledge that our inaccuracies. And one of those I want to start off is like during the previous podcast, I did state or make a claim that women and men are assaulted in the same rates. And that is inaccurate because the World Health Organization found that 1 in 4 globally, 1 in 4 women are assaulted in their lifetime. So a quarter of all women. Travesty. And likely, my speculation is that there's a good chance that that's either an improvement from history or just historically accurate throughout, right? So that just shows the level. Men are not assaulted at that rate. However, we also acknowledge that there's a large number of men that never report. And because of the things that we talked about in the previous podcast. So I do want to make sure that that inaccuracy is acknowledged, that there was a claim that men and women, and so I don't want to I want to correct the record for that men and women are not assaulted at the same rates. However, men are frequently assaulted, and that a lot of those assaults are not reported. And if and I hope that men are starting to report at higher rates when they are, and that they listen to that. If they hear what we said, they take to heart that it's not that those prejudices that we put on men, that it was stated that they were supposed to feel proud about being assaulted, or that these things that we project onto these young boys and these children, that it's okay to speak up about it, and it's okay to stand up for the fact that you were violated and there's nothing wrong with what you did, that it was always the perpetrator and not you. So please, if you hear this and you're a young adult, first off, why are you listening to this? This is explicit. Don't do it. But secondly, if you do,
We will warp your little
If you
brain.
happen to be,
right,
if you happen to be.
But if you do, please speak up. Please let someone know. Please, hold that person accountable, because what they did was wrong and you deserve better. So on that, let's move forward. We want to talk about right now, like everything that's going on with the world. So I want to move on to Eric, the unapologetic geek, and let him start us off.
Well, I mean, this is being recorded in March of 2022. So all the news is about Ukraine, because Russia has invaded Ukraine and is committing war crimes and blowing shit up, and it's bad. What got me, I mean, aside from the actual horror of war, is the political side of it here in the United States, because we're obsessed with how these things affect us, because that's human nature. But in the US, it seems worse than in other countries. Like, we take Russia invading Ukraine as a personal affront to our country, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But really, what bothers me, I come from a family of Republicans, and I do consider myself something of a conservative libertarian, but I'm not. I've never been a Republican, don't want to be a Republican. But I feel like the Republican Party lately has been a mess, and this is really exposing a very, very horrible side of the Republican Party. That, like, the Tucker Carlson wing. Tucker Carlson has been publicly saying that he's on Putin's side, that we shouldn't be upset at Putin for what he's doing in Ukraine. And there's a lot of lawmakers in Washington who are afraid to speak out because they don't want to upset the Tucker Carlson wing of the Republican Party. And that really bugs me, especially in light of the fact that a month ago, we were going to talk about this horrible censure that the Republican Party put on, well, the RNC, the Republican National Committee, which, to be fair, is not actually the lawmakers. It's like wannabe lawmakers. It's like they call them the grass tips. They're like leaders of the grassroots movements. And they put out a statement that basically just wants to exile Liz Cheney and who's the other guy? Adam Kinzinger
from Michigan, and
yeah, from the Republican Party, because they spoke out against the January 6th incident and Donald Trump. And I find it just horrible that these very same people who are going to denounce Liz Cheney for being honest about her opinion are not willing to denounce Vladimir Putin for committing war crimes in Ukraine. So that's kind of what I wanted to say.
And also are constantly touting the insistence upon free speech.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yet then, when they use their free speech to criticize, are then censured.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
It's canceled by their own party. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do want to bring up, because I like we run the gamut, I think, of the political spectrum.
Yeah, just
And-
between Scott and myself. Yeah.
right. Well, but like also Joe and Damien, right? Like Damien, we all have our own, like on that liberal
left, right,
progressive
top, bottom.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We all kind of run a little bit of that spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And
Libertarian, authoritarian spectrum, left, right spectrum. Yeah.
right. And so I'm definitely, not a Republican, but I respect like
I don't think anybody will ever accuse you of that, Scott.
but I respect Mitt Romney for when he came out on, I think it was like Jake Tapper's show or something. He was on one of the Sunday shows.
It was Jake Tapper.
And was it okay? Like State of the Union, that's what it was. And like he was on State of the Union and he talked about, he made the comment that there's morons in our party, or there's morons in our side. He made the reference to calling some of those people being morons. And I think it's interesting that the RNC chose to go after Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, but then when Mitt Romney comes out and says, no, we have morons like taking over or whatever, they haven't come out to censure him. A former, I think he has more clout, he has more,
It's a money thing.
Well, yeah, definitely
Could
has
be,
more.
yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Certainly.
Cheney's have some money, especially with their Halliburton,
Yeah,
and
true,
no
true,
bid contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think
Romney
they look
does
at
have-
Liz Cheney and they thought that she was directly attacking the Republican Party because she was directly attacking Trump, and she was on the January 6th committee and stuff like that. Whereas Mitt Romney's just talking off the cuff to Jake Tapper. It's a different offense to these crazy people.
I think you're right.
Yep.
And you're not allowed to. Again, there's this high wire act that's happening right now, because I think recently Ron DeSantis has started to edge out Trump in some of the polls. And
not at the most current or recent CPAC or whatever it was.
Well, CPAC has
Donald
always been
Trump.
a Trump fest for the last
Yeah,
4 or 5
I know.
years.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I think Trump is starting to lose some clout, but what he started, it isn't. I think that's just gaining traction.
No,
right?
I think
Well,
you're
he
right.
still holds a good 30% of the party, I would think.
Oh,
So yeah, or is it 30% of Americans in general, or something like that? Like half of the Republican Party. I haven't looked at the recent polls on that. So
No, I mean,
Yeah,
if they have another one of those crazy primaries for a president in the next presidential election, Trump will probably be the candidate, and that's depressing.
it is. But truly,
Or run as a
I'd
third
rather
party.
Trump be the candidate than DeSantis, because Trump's easier to beat, I think, than DeSantis is, because DeSantis is a moron and has questionable policies, extremely questionable policies. But I think he comes off as more sane and less abrasive than Trump, So
but DeSantis is too cowardly.
he is.
DeSantis is 100% a bootlicker, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No
Big
shit.
time.
He is absolutely Trump's bootlicker, right? And
Yes, but he wants to be president, though.
Yeah,
And
he's
going to run
walking
against.
that thin line where he is by omission a Trump bootlicker, but he's not like going out and rallying for Trump at the same time.
Correct. Yes, that's
But he's not saying anything bad about him. He doesn't want to like poke the bear,
No. And toe to toe, Trump will dominate.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that in the primaries he will. I'm just saying, as a DeSantis as a national actual, like, the Republican nominee would be more dangerous to Democrats than I think Trump is, as far as like winning the election goes, as prospects of winning, because he comes across as more normal, I guess, and like I said, less abrasive, less of a shit disturber than Trump.
And I think, generally speaking, that's what more Americans want, is normality.
Yes.
They want
Correct.
less extreme presidential candidates, and yet, primary system
has
kind of sucked doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's driven by the base, you know,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
because the way they're set up. So
Well, and what's terrifying to me is that in our current century, we've had prior to Biden winning, I think it was 2 out of the 5 elections, the person who won the most votes lost.
Right. Well,
And
that's a whole different
that
subject about the Electoral College.
but-
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. But that's a terrifying, like when we talk about like, will Trump get this? Will Trump or any of this stuff? Will Trump win? You know, will Trump get the election? Like he lost his election, yet still won.
mhm.
Right.
Right. And we
Are you-
can say, look, he'll turn people off. He'll like people will vote against him, but people voted against him. He lost by 3 million votes, and he still won.
Yeah.
So that's what terrifies me. And what really scares me is that
But don't forget that just throw this little side point in there. Don't forget that Bush lost in his first election too.
Right.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Like
So it's like this is two Republicans in a row that lost their popular vote or lost the popular vote, won the electoral college for the presidency. Go ahead though, Scott.
And I'm worried that if Trump makes it in there again, that he will have learned from his previous time in the office and
Agreed.
will not let it go.
Oh no,
Trump
Joe,
Trump
you're
learning
right.
is not
No,
a thing.
Trump
no.
learning. Yeah.
No.
But his people
not-
may have learned.
No, Trump will have learned because he does. He's like he does. That's what's like really. He's smart in the way that Hitler was smart, and I'm not equating the two because Hitler was, so much worse than Trump. Because
And so much smarter
Right.
than Trump. Yeah.
I'll agree with that. But
Even
they're
though he was an
both-
idiot, he was smarter than Trump. But anyway.
But they're both very charismatic, and there's a lot of oppressed people right now,
Mhm.
right? That and I'm not talking about like even just like on a racial term or anything like that, but there's a lot of economically oppressed
Economically
people
repressed.
who
Yeah.
do not feel like when I was in Jacksonville, and they were saying that Hillary Clinton was going to win. I saw a whole bunch of Trump signs up on yards and all that stuff. And when I asked people about, why do they support Trump? First off, Hillary Clinton's corrupt. And I'm like, well, I can't deny that because she is. But also, they were like, he's either going to do like he says and make our life better, or he's just going to blow the whole damn thing up.
Yeah,
and we're
that's what I
fine
heard.
with either one of those.
That's what I
And
saw it as. Is I saw like a bunch of people who wanted to flip the table and light it on fire, and that's how
Yeah.
Trump won the
Yeah.
primary.
Yeah.
And my worry is that because Biden came in and his promise was, it was a BS promise, but his promise was I'll bring sanity back and I'll bridge the two together and we'll actually get some stuff done. When Obama came in, he was going to change everything, and he was full of crap. And
Fundamentally transform America, right?
Yes,
right,
yes.
right.
Yes, we
And
can.
yes, we can, right? And I'll be one of the first people to say I was riding that train. I was snorting what he was laying down. I was just deep breath. Oh yeah, yes we can. I've got my little like thing, my framed little like yes we can picture, like all of that stuff, right? I was like, let's do it. I was
But full
you're
disclosure,
right,
a couple years later, you apologized to me for that.
Yes, I did. I was like, I'm so my fault, my bad. He was so full of crap. And
I feel like we have a problem with the cult of personality in this country.
Yes.
We treat the president like he's some sort of god, and we should not be doing that. He's a public servant,
Right.
And
Yes.
we've
Yeah.
lost that.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, and it's like our fascination with the royalty, right? Like
Yeah.
we
I'm
love
not fascinated with them.
I know, but there's a lot.
And I'm
of people...
Canadian. Come on now. I'm supposed to be like, I love the king, the queen, the blah blah
She
blah
was
blah
my
blah.
queen, and I hated
And that
it.
was my princess. Why did they force her out of the royal family? No, I don't care. I don't give a shit. They're all a bunch of spoiled rotten brats. So anyway, just wealthy landowners is all it is. So.
But we
There's
do that
figureheads.
like Elon Musk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Papa
And we
Musk.
idolize the rich, and we absolutely, as a society, idolize the rich and put them on a pedestal as like gods almost. It's terrifying at times to watch because it's like, yeah, these people are different and they're talented and maybe even special, but they don't get to where they are by themselves. And they didn't start off. Most of them didn't start off with nothing. The vast majority of them started off with a knee-high stack of cash, $100 bills to do whatever they want with.
Yeah, it's mostly luck and nepotism. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they get to where they are, not just from nepotism and things like that, but it's, hiring, talent to work for them, and quite often underpaid talent to work for them that are actually the people that know how to get these things done and, make the machine work. And, but yet they are the beneficiaries of all of that. And I know that's a much bigger conversation than we're having today. But yeah, anyway.
But I also wanted to go back to that resolution because it also highlights something else that I think is wrong with our political discourse, is that it's all bad faith. It is 100% bad faith now. We don't actually try to engage the other side. We're just pissing on the other side now. Like in this, I'm going to quote directly from this resolution. It says, whereas the Biden administration and Democrats in Congress have embarked on a systematic effort to replace liberty with socialism, eliminate border security in favor of lawless open borders, create record inflation designed to steal the American dream from our children and grandchildren, neuter our national defense and appease through strength foreign policy, replace President Trump's Operation Warp Speed with incompetence and illegal mandates, and destroy America's economy with the Green New Deal. Now that hyperbolic doesn't even begin to explain it, but the thing that bothers me is not that people are making these arguments because, politics is always hyperbolic. It's the fact that people actually believe this shit,
Yes.
And it's not exclusive to the Republican Party. It's just the Republican Party is especially crazy right now.
I run into this all the time with people down here that believe every word of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And think
with
that
them every day.
If you say anything against that you're like some sort of leftist commie that's come to like destroy the world kind of thing, and you're automatically on their shit list. So it's crazy. Absolutely.
And trying
crazy.
to have any kind of political debate online when you're more of a centrist like me, I get called a liberal and I get called a conservative and a Nazi. I get called everything. I love it.
Yep.
Oh shit!
I have those conversations a lot.
Guys, I just got really bad news. I just got so the DSA has kicked me out because of my complimenting Mitt Romney. So
oh shit.
I wasn't sure you were joking at first.
Speaking of such, son of a
Desmond came out and he nailed that.
You win.
Yes.
Just because I said like his comment was a decent comment, and I applauded him for like actually.
I'm no Mitt Romney fan, but I think he's at least relatively sane, or in one of the few
who I think tries to stick to principle. Whereas I think most, especially in the Republican Party, but I think in both parties, there's people who don't give a shit about principle. It's all personality. It's all playing.
It's all about getting voted back in. Yeah.
And Congress isn't even about legislating anymore. It's just about campaign speeches. Yeah. And that's where we are. And I feel like that parties should be exiling the crazies. They should be saying, look, we don't need this in our party. If we're going to be the party that goes along with these people, then we don't want to be that party. Like in the 90s growing up, I felt like that was a thing, both in the Republican and the Democratic Party. Both parties were saying, look, these people are too crazy. Let's put them to the side. We don't need them in our party. We don't want to affiliate them with our party. Now it's like exactly inverse. Now it's the moderates and the centrists who are being kicked out of the party.
Well, yeah, because that's, if you listen to conservative talk show host, radio, if you read any of their literature, um, in air quotes, um, I mean, it's been going on since I think when I was a kid listening to Rush Limbaugh, uh, my dad playing it in the car and whatnot, and that term "rhino" came out. I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
if y'all have
Yeah.
heard that.
Yeah.
The Republican in name only, and you'd hear it every now and then. Now you are starting to hear it more and more with people who are trying to keep the party sane and try and pull it back from the crazies. They're like you said, they're the ones that are getting
Mhm.
isolated. They're the ones that are,
Yeah.
they're trying to pick up the tent and move it
Yeah.
all the way over to the right, and
Well,
Yeah, it's
the
the
thing that's
Overton
killed
window on
me,
steroids. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
the thing that's
it's
killed me is in the last 30, 40 years is as the tent has moved to the right, the Democrats have gone to the right in lockstep with it,
well, this
In some
There's
country
no
respects.
is
liberals anymore
right
in a
center.
lot of respects. There
Yeah,
aren't any
this
liberals anymore.
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. There's no leftists anymore. There are liberals, but they are centrist liberals.
This
So
country hasn't had that though. I mean, we've always
we
been
did
right of
once upon a
center
time.
predominantly.
Yeah,
Well, there's always
predominantly.
been the the outliers,
Yeah.
but they were few and far between. We've
But
always been center
when you look at like democratic politics of the 1940s, even 30s through the 60s, it was far further. It was center left rather than center, and that
I
was
don't know.
that was
JFK
the
was pretty
center of the
far to the
party.
right for a Democrat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was, but I'm talking like you look at uh Roosevelt, you look at even Truman, and even Johnson was a little to the right compared to them, but the party had a lot more like once upon a time. Who was it? Nixon that said, there are no Republicans that aren't New Deal Republicans. Like you either
Yeah.
had to be part of the New Deal or not, or you weren't part of anything anymore. And the New Deal, by today's standards, would be, the Republicans would be screaming communism if you were talking about the New Deal today. So, or any of the
Well,
policies in the New
they
Deal.
scream socialism and communism at everything.
Yeah, they
Well,
do.
but that's what
Correct.
the
They did
Green
back
New
then too.
Deal,
So.
like we literally have the Green New Deal and they call it communism.
I know.
When they're talking
Yeah.
about private business and changing our energy policy, right? Because they labeled it the Green New Deal, right? After the New
Oh yeah.
Deal.
Yeah.
And all they're trying to do is change from one corporation to a different corporation because again, it's for scientific reasons, right? Because of the fact because the need for attacking climate change and what have you. And again, like it's like they're just changing corporations and they're calling it communist. I don't know how independent corporations are now communist. Like that to me, now I get like and the government picking and choosing corporations. Well, that's always happened. That's happened for like a long-standing time. But that has nothing to do like with communism, because communism like is based on the idea of like a core of socialism that's different, right? A little bit further, where the government is creating these. Like if we were to privatize, or I mean, like public, take all of these private corporations and make them public, now we could say that's communism, and I would be like, yeah, that's communism, right?
Yeah.
Now we're talking about the actual thing.
That's socialism too, but however you want to look at it. But yeah.
Well, that the government is now like controlling. Socialism is more the workers control the means of production.
Workers
okay,
mean
correct.
yeah.
And communism is the country.
Yeah.
To speak in extremely general terms, it feels like for the Republicans, anything that even reeks of central planning is automatically communism or socialism, just automatically. Like they don't even put any more thought into it. Just like on the left, anything that seems a little authoritarian on the right is automatically labeled fascism. I feel like that's the same phenomenon.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it depends on which groups you run in and who you're listening to, but I don't hear a whole lot of screaming from the left because from as far as like things happening on the right being fascism. But
Where were you
that's
during
'cause
Trump's
I
years,
wasn't
man?
listening.
The 4 years of
Oh,
Trump
no,
was
I mean,
all
I
fascism,
was
white
yeah.
supremacy. and
yeah,
nine-
no, that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
different.
Was it?
They were
No, like
No,
no.
well,
There was
yeah.
like, you know, I'll and again, because I'm on, that team, like, right, and I'm trying to be mindful of the fact that the team mentality actually does infiltrate to all of us. And when I hear people talk about hypocrisy, we're all like
Oh,
hypocritical.
we're all
right?
hypocrites. Every last one of us. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Right. And
Mhm.
when we talk about values, our values are definitely fluid. It's just to what
Oh, yeah.
extent, right?
Yeah.
And so
Well, yeah, they're circumstantial.
there's
it
there's
depends on what the
lowercase
circumstance.
Mhm.
sorry, yeah. There's lowercase hypocrisy and big like uppercase like hypocrisy. And that's so lowercase hypocrisy I'm less ardent against, because again, that's like, well, there by the grace of God go I kind of thing, right? But with so I look more like, I'm trying to look more at the big H. And when Trump is not when Trump says, I don't know who David Duke is, when he's asked about David Duke supporting him, that is when we get into the white supremacy issues, right?
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
when you have sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, when you have, the Confederate flag flying right alongside, the Trump flag, at what point do you step up and go, no, these motherfuckers do not represent me. You come out and you say that shit. You don't just, I don't know, oh, they're all good people, whatever. That's
Yeah, I was
No,
going to
I'm
bring
totally
up
with you on that.
Charlottesville.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's
It was
But-
like, Charlottesville, and his comment on, was that the good people comment
Yes.
that
Yeah,
time?
yeah,
Yeah,
the
it was
good
the
people
people
both
on both
sides.
sides.
Yeah.
And yet who's getting killed?
right.
So
And Heather Heyer getting
Yeah.
run over, and
that's exactly what I'm alluding
Yeah.
to. So,
But
Yeah.
I'll also say,
but
like,
that is a big
there's
chunk of their
not
base, though,
everything
and
that
I don't
Trump
think it's as
did.
big as you think it is. I think
it's not. It's just they're very vocal.
they're very vocal,
yeah.
and the Republican Party is not denouncing them, and that is a gigantic
And that-
problem. But that doesn't. It's
That's
not the same
gasoline.
thing as saying that we have a giant white supremacy problem in our country, because I don't really think we do. I do think there are
And
white
Eric,
supremacists, and we need to deal with them, but I don't think they're as big of a problem as they're made out to be.
And Eric, that's where I agree with you right there, by the way. Just FYI.
Okay.
So,
And
I don't think it's as
the
big as a
overt-
problem as people think it is. So
Yeah.
the overt ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will agree. They're not as large, and not
Oh,
as
yeah.
prominent. But there is still in this country
Yeah.
a lot of people that still hold those ideals.
Well,
And
yeah,
that's-
old-timey
that's not as
racism is still
vocal
definitely
about
a
it.
problem. Don't get
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
mistake me.
I mean,
the
my
only
family,
way to fix that is long
know?
term, though. So
Yeah,
go,
that's
go
a
on with what you're
generational
saying.
problem.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
and,
general.
and to tie it into the original discussion, like, look at how reporters are discussing, like, the what's going on in Ukraine, right? And how appalled they are because it's happening to a white European country,
right? And
and
they
then when
refer
they
to
talk
refugees
about
completely
Iraq, well,
different.
that's just
Yeah.
that's what
That's
happens
that's
there.
hypocritical big time. Yeah.
Yes.
right.
It's like, it's okay if we
well-
invade and bomb brown people in Afghanistan or Iraq, but
And we don't want them coming here when they're trying to
when they're trying
find
to
a
escape.
place. Yeah, but
I do think
Yeah.
there's a distinction to be made between wars of conquest and wars of, I don't want to
Yes,
say
that too.
liberation, because that's a little too propaganda-y, but like, we didn't go in there to take Iraq and make Iraq part of America, whereas Russia's invading Ukraine to make Ukraine part of Russia.
That's
Correct.
not
And I feel like
yes.
there is a distinction there.
No. I'll agree with you that there's a distinction, but not much. And hear me out with this.
No, I don't think it's a huge distinction, but I do think it's an important distinction.
I'll agree with you. There is a difference, but we did it for, as Limp Bizkit once said, we did it for the nookie.
For the
Right.
Nikki.
And the nookie,
Because it's all about
and
that
this
cookie.
is I know, right? I know. Eric's head shake on that. Like, you really went there.
You went there. You went there.
We have jumped the shark on this one. No, but the nookie is the green. It's the money,
generational
right?
mark.
And the reason that we went after, like, there's like, I do think that there's, and this is me speculating, but there's also some support to it, that we went there for a couple reasons. For vengeance, because George Bush was upset that Papa didn't get, Saddam, and that there are some indications that there was an intention or a desire to eventually right that quote unquote wrong, right? Yes. But also to go in there, because though we didn't conquer the country, though we kind of did, though we didn't conquer the country as one of our like 51st states, we did conquer it for our corporations to get access to that oil. Like Hunt Oil was one of the and a number of American, and that was one of the big things is that the oil companies did not have access to that because, Saddam was like, this is the people's oil and I am the people. So it's my oil and I'm going to take all those revenues. Right. And he stole from the Iraqi people. Not saying he's a good person, but those corporations, those oil corporations wanted access to their oil and after the war, they got it. Right. Yeah. That's where I say, and I agree with you, it is an important difference when you say like conquering it for our country or expanding our country and our empire, right? We just empire in a different way.
Well, and I'm sorry, I'm a free marketer. I think that the way we conquer is better. I think making ourselves financially tied to other countries and, having voluntary associations, even if you want to call them corporate greed, you want to call them corporates taking over the oil fields, whatever, I still feel like that is a better long-term solution for peace than going in and just bombing the shit out of people.
But look at South America.
What about South America?
Yeah, the nation building we tried to do there.
I'm not saying nation building's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong.
You're just saying it's better than Putin's way.
That's all I'm saying. This is like,
better than Hitlerizing the world. Yeah.
Well,
I can't believe you've got me on pod like trying to defend nation building. That's not what I'm doing. God damn it.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put that evil on me.
I'm simply saying that there's a reason why Russia invading Ukraine has been a bigger deal internationally. I mean, I'm not saying our invasion of Iraq wasn't a big deal, but it feels like there was less of a united condemnation. I'm actually surprised at how united people are in denouncing Russia. I thought it would be a little bit more fluid than it is. But I think that's where Biden has done
I think that's where Biden has done a good job with foreign policy, is right there with dealing with this situation. That was his, long-term specialty in the Senate was foreign policy.
No, and like I would love to talk shit about how he handled the withdrawal of Afghanistan, and I could do it all day. I'm deeply pissed off at him for that. But the way he's handled Russia and Ukraine has actually been pretty damn savvy, and I feel like he did the best job he could with a really bad hand.
Yeah. And Afghanistan was a mess. And I think we can all agree it should have been done differently. So
it's indefensible. There's still Americans in Afghanistan to this day.
I know. And our allies and our
we left our friends to be beheaded, and we're just we're talking like it's no big deal.
And, and we just walked away, and it's dead in the media now. I mean, it's
they're not talking about it anymore. Especially
of course
now.
Not. Yeah, of course not. We got a whole other war to talk about now. So.
Yeah. And though like again, I'm one of those guys that. And maybe it's the jingoistic propaganda that worked on me or whatever, but I still admire Colin Powell to a great deal. And I know
it helps that he went over to your side.
Well, no, I don't think he did. I think he still held true. It's just that I think
he stood still while the Republican Party went right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the line
They left
shifted.
him. He didn't leave
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where Damien, I think, was right, saying that the Republican Party left him and the Democrats have moved over to him.
Yes.
Right.
In lockstep.
And one of the things
I don't buy that, but let's just put that aside.
No, and this is why I say it, because again, I don't believe in centrists, because what I believe is what the centrist point is whatever the corporations want. And
no,
right now,
No.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair. Right.
It depends on it depends on what your view of centrist is. If you're talking about centrist authoritarian like Hillary Clinton, who's really actually on the right side of center, then yes, you're right. But when you talk about most Americans that consider themselves centrists, then no, it's not about what the corporations want at all. So.
I'm a Minnesotan. I feel like we need extremes on both sides arguing with each other, and we'll find the middle way. That's how America's supposed to work. I feel like we've been short-circuited in the last 20 or 30 years, but I feel like that's the way it was originally designed.
I think we should change Senate rules to where they're and House rules where they're all supposed to carry wiffle bats, and just not the hard plastic ones, but the soft squishy ones, with the foam cover on them. Yeah. And they should all just duke it out and just beat each other senseless until
just lock them in, no bathroom breaks until they come out, until they compromise and get something.
Yeah,
get some shit on the wall,
or they kill everybody,
and blood everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Wiffle bats, though.
The greatest reality TV ever.
It's a good way to get rid of the
I mean,
fat,
I don't want a parliament. I don't think I don't want a parliamentary system, but I do want our elected leaders to act like they do in the British Parliament.
That's what
I want them
to
be constantly yelling at each other and insulting each other.
Yeah,
stop just standing up and speechifying talking points. Just stop it.
And they're not allowed to speak ill of each other in Senate chambers and whatnot. All these rules about how screw that. He should be one
stop
guy
calling
on
each other friends and colleagues.
Yeah.
Call each other the names you want to call each other.
Yeah, you should be able to scream across from the other side of the room saying "you fucktard," or whatever. just whatever, You freaking Nazi bastard. Yeah,
it's just that one side's doing it like Joe Wilson, like so you lie, right? Like
yeah.
Right?
And then
you have
Green and Bobert,
right?
Whatever.
When Joe Biden's talking about his dead son, and she's like, "Well, 13 bodies."
That's cringy as hell, right there.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. There's no defending that.
No,
cringy.
No, but and that's I think that's a level of disgusting that is different from what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
because and again, it's and again because I wish to some extent the Democrats would act more like the Republicans, because the Republicans, are like Republicans will attack your mom. They'll I mean, I don't agree with this.
They'll steal your mother's wheelchair. They'll take her crutches.
Donald Trump said that Ted Cruz's dad killed JFK. Just flat out said that, and also said your wife is ugly. And then you have that my cut to Ted Cruz going making the phone calls for. Have you heard about Donald Trump? And he would surely appreciate your support, right? I'm like, how disgusting, right? He beats them. He beats them with a verbal stick, and they all do, right? And that's what has happened. And he is very authoritarian.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Right?
Is authoritarian.
And do what I do, or go up against the wall with you, kind of thing.
Right.
Or do what I say, or up against the wall with you.
Well, not to get completely off topic, but that's one of the things about the Republican Party and I guess the religious right that is a big part of that, is how they talk about the hatred of I cannot speak authoritarians, right?
Oh yeah.
But that's what their life revolves around.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
And all their I cannot speak right now.
Yeah, they talk about cancel
Eric,
culture.
You say it. Yes,
They
Eric,
talk
you
about
say
cancel
it,
culture
and
as if they haven't spent decades trying to censor everything that they think is against the religious right, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right,
Mhm.
but
They're just
Even
mad
even
because
And the
it's
war
more
but
effective cancel
and the
culture when it's people in
yeah.
Hollywood
right,
bubbles or
And
Twitterverse, because
and
those
there's
are
a
but then
war
you
on
also
generally left-wing
yeah,
there's a war on
institutions.
Christianity and all that stuff
yeah,
too.
Right.
but
So
then you
yeah.
also have
Yeah.
this group, and it I don't know size-wise how much it is, but it's fairly vocal that they're always thinking the end times are right here,
Yeah.
and this is what's
Tomorrow.
bringing it,
Yeah.
you know?
This weekend, in fact.
And well, yeah, it'll be next weekend too. They
Next
just keep
weekend too.
moving the
Yeah.
goalposts. That's
Yeah.
all they do
Exactly.
Mhm.
is, the
Every
goalpost
Democratic
is on
president is the
wheels.
Antichrist. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
but I don't understand their fear. Like, if he was the Antichrist, what's the fear? That's all part of y'all's, the prophecy idea, right? That
Mhm.
that all that shit's gonna come. But uh, as much as they argue against it, that is their life. That is
Yeah.
their heartfelt belief,
The
and I don't know why they just don't.
No,
It,
see, that's why I
getting back to
consider myself
getting
a
back to the
centrist,
hypocrisy thing.
because I feel like on the extremes of either side, you get that U shape, and everybody becomes an authoritarian. And I feel like the only
Yeah,
way to avoid that is to go down the middle, and that's the only way to avoid getting lost in crazy town.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, you can be center left or center right and still
Oh, for sure.
libertarian. It's just
Yeah.
yeah.
when you get all the way to the edge, it becomes hard to maintain those
No,
ideals and not become authoritarian. So yeah, I agree with you on
I
that.
do think all four of us are against authoritarianism, just in general.
Correct.
Like, I don't think any one of the
Yes.
four of
Not
us
I.
is on either extreme. Okay.
I would like an authoritarian leader.
Well, as long as you're the authoritarian, right?
Like Star. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
As long as it's me.
I want to be Stalin.
If
Like
I were king, if I were king, you would be fast or first against the wall. Anyway,
no,
Ugh.
Radiohead.
no, no. But go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry. Sorry.
No,
One
I
of
mean,
us wanna
that's
be-
all I was saying. Is just I feel like
Yeah.
we get wrapped up in the Jersey mentality where it's left versus right, and it stops being about core principles and it just becomes about owning the other side. Like Trump is 100% all about owning the libs. It's not about principle.
Yeah.
It's not about any
Yeah.
kind of policy. It's just being right at the expense of the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
And-
toxic as all hell, man.
Oh yeah.
That is the road
that's
to
the
authoritarianism.
Right.
So-
and that's the thing you'll hear with a lot of the Trump supporters I've listened to and read. They talk about that it's all about principle, all about principle. We're standing up for our principle.
Like, what are your
you know?
principles?
But then they're going down this whole other path. They're like sugarcoat it in principle.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like I do have a little
You
bit.
know.
I mean, I read National Review. National Review has never been, they've always been never Trump. They've never been on the Trump train. And I feel like
Right.
people like National Review, there are conservatives, Republicans out there who are trying to stick to principle. They're just being squashed and silenced by shit like this stupid resolution,
Yeah.
But they do exist.
Have you
Yeah.
heard
Yeah,
of
but-
Sagar and Thierry or Sagar in? I don't know how to say it. Eric, have you heard of Sagar?
I have absolutely no idea what you're trying to say. I like SOG. It's delicious.
Who was it that came out? Who was it that came out against the Republican National Committee and their censure of? Was it McConnell that came out and said?
Oh, I think
something about that?
McConnell did say it was
Yeah.
garbage. Yeah. He used
Every
that
now
word,
and again,
garbage.
I really do not like McConnell. Never have, especially with what he pulled with the Obama's judge, and then the Republicans not.
Yeah, you want to talk about hypocrisy? Oh
Yeah.
my god!
All of that, yeah.
Yeah.
But Mr. Hypocrisy for sure.
He's
But
cocaine
when
Mitch,
he
though.
did when he did say that, when he came out and said that, I did gain maybe one respect point for the man. I'll give him that. He does have principles, but as long as those involve winning,
Right.
Yeah.
as
'cause-
Republicans.
Yeah,
So-
but then he winds up
Yeah.
getting labeled a rhino, just like
Yeah,
Lindsey.
yeah.
I was hearing Lindsey Graham getting labeled a rhino the other
And
day.
when
You know, it's just-
If Lindsey
when it
Graham's a
suits
rhino,
her-
we're in real trouble.
well,
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. How far stuff is getting, and this
Yeah.
infighting that they're having,
Yeah.
where it's like the no true Scotsman thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like You know, if
I'm
you don't stick to these
especially
specific core beliefs.
I'm especially bitter because before Trump came along, I was actually like kind of I'm not going to say I was part of it or I was enthused by it, but I was kind of pleased to see the Tea Party movement within the Republican Party because I felt like they were trying to stick
Well,
to a certain type of principle. I may not have
the
always
true
agreed with
Tea
it.
Partiers, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the true Tea
Here we go
Partiers,
with the
the
true
early one.
Scotsman thing again. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, because later on they were
Yeah.
appropriated by the corporations. You know,
no, later on they
they
just
were
jumped. They
right?
just
Yeah.
jumped off
Yeah.
the Tea Party Express
Rails.
and onto the Trump train, and these
Yeah.
two trains
Yeah.
are going in opposite fucking
Well,
directions.
that ended a long time before. Ended a long time before Trump, though. I argue
Yeah,
that
it was
the Tea
definitely
Party
on the downside. But
ceased to exist as Tea Partiers in about probably 12 sometime. But
I
anyway,
had like a modicum of hope that the Republican Party would actually
Yeah.
start listening to principles and go in a more libertarian direction, and they fucking threw all that away a long time ago. You're right; it
Yeah.
was probably around 2012.
yeah, somewhere in there.
Well, when the Koch brothers started like buying all of the politicians, when they started and they stopped being, because again, the Tea Party, this is one of the beautiful things,
Well-
because you had the Tea Party and then the Democratic Party that was in the living in the parks.
The Occupy
Oh,
movement.
the
Occupy, yeah,
yeah.
right? Occupy Wall Street.
Wall Street.
Like I was
Yeah.
excited because the Tea Party
Yeah.
started because we bailed out the banks after the collapse, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Occupy Wall Street was exactly the same, right?
Yeah,
They had the same
And
argument.
then-
Yeah.
Then once the Koch brothers started,
it was like the
like
far left and the
getting
far
more
right
funding.
had gone all the way back around.
It was
Come up
it was a
with
it was a
and it was
sight to
about the
see, man.
values.
Yeah.
It was about the policies.
That's why I had
it was
hope.
about the values.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Damn it, I had
And
hope.
then
I
and
agree
then
with you there.
the Occupy, and then like the Koch brothers started bussing in and usurping the Tea Party movement, and they stopped being about like bailing out the banks and actually started pushing that we needed to be, funding corporations, all these different things.
Got to
and
fund our
pushing the
packs.
Koch brother, right?
Yeah.
And so and for Occupy, like you want to talk about decentralized? Oh Jesus! This is what I hated about like
that's
Occupy.
the thing I
was
hated about it too.
there was no leader. There was no leadership, and it was always like, all right, man, let's clap for our votes, and it was like
There was no point
Like-
to it in the end.
That's why
they-
communism
it just
doesn't work.
no.
I agreed.
No, communism doesn't work
Just had
because
to troll you, man.
yeah, I know. It's like, oh yeah. No. And I agree. I'm not a communist, okay? But like from a social like you have to have some kind of leadership, right? And so completely decentralizing becomes a problem, right? So you have to have some sort of like leadership. But again, I agree with you, Eric. And that's where the anarcho-communists come in, right? Anarcho-communists believe in the workers and
No centralized
getting
planning.
no
Yeah.
centralized government
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Nobody in
but it's,
charge. Just everybody do their thing.
all egalitarian, all that stuff, right? And that it's similar, but on the other spectrum of the libertarian movement of and again, that's the
Anarcho-capitalism.
extreme.
It's
Yeah,
bottom instead of top capitalism is what it is. It's
Exactly,
bottom
right,
of the yeah. It's the
And so-
libertarian end insteed of the authoritarian end.
But I'm proud of you, Scott.
and
You,
so-
we're like 54 minutes in before you mentioned anarcho-communism. So
Yeah, I was.
Oh,
the first step is recognizing that there's
Yes.
a problem, and then the second step is
Well,
doing
the
something
first
about
step
it.
God,
was
we've been
having
trying to
it
do that
first.
with you since you were like 16, though, man, and you just
God, dude. I have been in weekly therapy for
this-
4 years. 4 years straight.
this is
and
an
it's-
intervention, and we're all here to.
And that is true. I have been in weekly therapy for 4 years straight,
Oh wow,
Good for
and
you.
I finally
good for you.
made some progress.
awesome.
That's what it
I've been
took.
trying to get a therapist, but man, it's real hard right now. Everybody wants a therapist post-COVID.
Dude. That's why I like.
I
That's
had mine
like,
yesterday.
That's why I had to step down, was because I'm still suffering with burnout.
Yeah.
You take like I'll admit and I'm gonna talk openly, because being a man is about acknowledging yourself and your true self and living your truth. That was
the fuck is
totally-
this? Don't ever say that.
No, that was totally just a trigger.
Yeah.
I'm triggering Eric on that one. Fuck you and living your truth. There's one truth, goddammit.
There's reality.
There's reality.
Well
Which
done,
none of
Scott.
us
Good
truly
troll.
experience.
Game respects game.
So, but no, like part of being a man is acknowledging yourself, taking responsibility for yourself, and then that includes your health, right? And so I have PTSD. I've had PTSD from early childhood. And Damien, I don't know if you remember us talking about this on like in your driveway, me talking about like some of the things that I went through and stuff like that.
I remember talking on the phone with you for hours too, and you threatening certain things at times, and talking you through it and all that. And that was always difficult. But I was there for you then. I'm still there for you now. So
yep.
Yeah.
And so
always, brother, always.
so I have PTSD, and when COVID hit, the number of hours that I was working, and everything, like I had to step away for my own mental health because I got just severely burnt out. And still like working through those. And for anyone that deals with and especially in this time, deals with anxiety, PTSD, one of the things that is not like it's Eastern medicine. So there can often be some skepticism with Eastern medicine, but like also Asians developed medicine 5,000 years ago, well before, while we were still like bleeding and leeching people.
Well before science was a principle.
Be careful though. Traditional Chinese medicine is a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. There is such a thing as like Asian medicine from 5,000 years ago works, but there's a lot, and I mean a lot of traditional Chinese medicine that was invented like 10 years ago. Bullshit.
They start trying to make you like eat.
No.
If somebody makes you like tiger balls, like tea, that's not gonna cure you.
No, shark fin soup, all that. No.
Yeah, don't get me started on shark fin soup, man. Jesus.
Oh
yeah, that's horrible.
That's wrong on so many levels.
So many, right?
They're killing the top of the food chain. I mean, anyway,
there is a lot of research behind acupuncture and a lot of different things, and one of the things that
works with your nerves.
Yes, and one of the things that I discovered was how much it can help with PTSD, anxiety, all of these different things. And it really made a huge difference for me because I have lived my entire life in a hyper aroused state, not the good kind either. Along with your medications, along with your physician, because a lot of physicians won't recognize this, I highly recommend talking to your if you suffer with these things, highly recommend you talking with your healthcare team about like acupuncture, because it can make a significant difference with hypervigilance, anxiety, all that stress. It blew my mind. I was like, yeah. I'm a very skeptical healthcare provider. I have to see the research. I have to see, so I'm very like, something new comes out, I'm like, bull crap, like, let me see this. Let me see, because also a lot of the new medications that came out are just repurposed old medications, right? Just we're going to make it in a new form or something like that. And so I'm always like, bull crap. Like, there's a pill that you swallow that's for people that have delusions. And one of them, like one of the most common delusions, is paranoid delusions, right? So what it does is it sends a signal to your doctor to let them know that you've taken your pill that day. And you're telling me that you're going to tell your paranoid patient that you're going to have them swallow a tracker to help stabilize and monitor them, and your doctor is going to track. Come on, man, you're just feeding into their, like, you're part of the CIA is working with you, aren't they?
Well, if that's too much for you, we can install it in your teeth,
I know, right? So I'm always skeptical, right? But this actually is really good. It really helps. So I feel like, this is something, if it benefits for, talk to your healthcare provider about if this can benefit you, like, but it's something that a lot of people don't think about, and I don't think about. I didn't think about. But
honestly, really I have read a lot of the research on acupuncture just as a as a hobby because I'm a science enthusiast. And acupuncture is really tricky because it's really hard to do placebo acupuncture. They've come up with ways around it, but it's really hard to have a control group with acupuncture. But they have basically determined that there is an effect, and it is greater than placebo, as best as they can determine what placebo is. So, I mean, there is a lot more research behind something like acupuncture than, say, something like homeopathy, which is 1000% bullshit.
Oh, yeah. No. Don't get
What
me.
is homeopathy, anyways?
The
Diluting
dilution
something
of
to ridiculousness.
Oh, that one.
right.
Yeah.
It's
never mind. Never
what
mind.
is
Magic
it?
water.
Yeah, but cause equals cure kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's
So
like, if you've
Go ahead.
overdosed on or taken rat poison, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna die. The cure is to take that rat poison, put it in water, and dilute it and dilute it and dilute it, dilute it
Until there's not even a
nothing
molecule
fucking
left,
left, and then drink the water, and now you're cured. Supposedly.
Until you're dead.
James Ramsey used to take homeopathic
yeah.
medicine, and he would just like OD on it on stage just to
Yeah.
prove that it's nothing. It does nothing. That's
Yeah.
really dangerous. Don't do that because they can
Yeah.
put anything they want in those pills.
Yeah, because you're not.
So,
not regular.
When I
no
went to the
regulation.
judge, I told them that the only reason I was giving my wife cyanide at very small levels was because I was doing homeopathy to prevent her from any time that I actually were to snap and actually try to kill her with cyanide.
Building
the
up an
only thing
immunity,
that I
right?
didn't realize was
Or
that
tolerance,
cyanide and arsenic actually can accumulate in your body. Who knew? Turns out I killed her. God, the judge didn't believe me that it was homeopathy.
So anyway, I was just trying to roundabout sort of way saying that there is some research about acupuncture that's positive. So like you're not crazy, okay?
Yeah.
You can still be skeptic and still be into acupuncture.
And
it's fine.
And my wife, my wife is alive. My wife is alive. I was only jesting, but even my wife was like, so is it the acupuncture or is it just the meditation that's helping you? And I'm like,
see, that's where I was
a good
getting.
question.
It's like it's the question, like, is prayer working? It's that 50-50 thing, but is it that's taking that time to self reflect on things, even if it's a conversation in your own head? How much is that helping you versus the prayer, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. And here's the thing. I do meditation. I meditate every day. And like my PTSD and my panics were getting so bad. I was actually I had a visible knot in my rib cage. Like it was, it was bad. It was putting me on the couch. I was really bad. I meditate like a MFer. Like I love meditation. I think it's excellent. So, but this actually, even when distressing news or things that would normally like trigger me and get me really hyper like vigilant, it's actually keeping me through the whole week. Like I'm not responding, even though I'm getting like, something, comes up that normally would have triggered that. Like, well, even this, like, so one of my meds that I take at night to help me with sleep, I ran out of it because of all the issues with the pharmacies and stuff like that. And they weren't able to fill it in time. So I didn't sleep at all. I had intrusive nightmares, all this different stuff. I was having I didn't sleep at all. And I was like, motherfucker, this knot is going to come back and it's just going to freaking blow up, because that's happened before like in the past couple months, like the month before, like there was a couple days that I missed my nighttime meds and the knot just blew up, even though I was doing all these different treatments and stuff like that. And no, for sure. Like just recently did not like, it just happened right before my next one. Never came back. And
do I need to fly up there and give you a massage, Scott? Is it that time again?
I've got, oh God. And she has got hands of magic. No.
What about the feet?
Yeah.
Huh?
Let her walk
and
on
for
you.
some reason, as a massage, you know what? I'm a little bit confused by this. Who knew massage therapists check your prostate? Like that was weird. I was unexpected.
What was the tool used?
I don't know. I was face down.
Was it bigger than a finger?
I don't know. She's got some pretty big. She's got some sausage hands, man. I don't know. I thought it was maybe a cucumber, but then I looked at her hand and I was like, it could have been the middle finger right there. Like, I don't know.
Then you realize that she has both her hands out. So what could it be?
I know. Yeah. Then she was like also like clapping my back, like
She's just
working on my
standing behind
shoulders.
you.
You know, the
Hold
beard.
still.
She does have a beard.
Women can grow facial hair too.
With the right hormones.
And she said her name was Charles. So that
This story's getting
So
really
you put
weird,
her in
Scott.
charge, did you?
she's like, why are you calling? She was like, why do you keep calling me like Olga? My name is Charles. I was like, oh, Olga, you're so funny.
But you put her in charge, didn't you?
I did. She was in charge. Oh, with that prostate exam, she was very much in charge.
Oh, I'm sure.
She found your happy place.
Yes. So there's your cure there,
It
Scott.
was stimulated.
Get that knot out.
Yeah.
That was an internal knot I never realized existed, but definitely found out
Until it
about.
was relieved. Yeah.
Right.
And then everything was so much better after that.
The you know what? The discharge from that internal knot blew me away. It just showed me just how big it was. And I was like, you know what? I believe it. Because you worked out that infection. God.
Yeah.
Who
weird.
knew that
Nowhere
knots in your
near
back were just knots all over your body?
I
were
think
just
we're in the
giant
woods
pustules?
now. We're not even in like the rough. We're like we're over
way
there.
beyond civilization at this point.
Russia, like
Anyway.
I am the Russian cluster bomb of the rails. So
Yeah. Stay
Yeah.
away from the nuclear power plants, please.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah,
right?
please.
Yeah, don't
please.
bomb the
That
nuclear
was,
power
yeah, that was
plants,
a good
please.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
gotta
just
love that
seems
one.
like a common sense idea, but
It's like,
common
you know,
sense is
doesn't
not
that one
common.
like provide power to like half a southeastern or
It's most of
Yeah,
Europe?
it's
Europe.
like one of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
largest.
Yeah. It's like,
But
you
it's
know,
a-
that goes down and like there goes the power grid. you
Yeah,
know?
but it was a what do they call a soft water
yeah, it was
nuclear
yeah, yeah.
facility. So
it's like a or whatever it is, third generation or second generation
Yeah.
system or whatever.
Luckily, a lot of the early reports were a little exaggerated and a little misleading. It wasn't actually the
Yeah.
power plant itself that was on fire. It was like a training facility next door. But still,
Mhm.
they were taking over the nuclear power plant and they were dropping bombs in its general vicinity. That's a bad idea.
They
Yeah.
don't, you know,
And this is
you gotta
Ukraine.
wonder.
This is the same place where they have this little town called Chernobyl,
Yeah,
which
and you gotta
Russia
wonder.
also
You
took
gotta
over.
wonder what the fallout of like something like this could be. Imagine if they do take out a power plant that, you know, crashes the entire grid of half of Europe. Could that be considered an attack on NATO? You know,
Oh,
I mean,
probably.
how would some NATO
dude.
nations take that?
Yeah,
So this
but
You
this
do
is
raise
like,
a good
you
point.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Because
a
it would
lot of
affect
this is
a few
very
NATO nations.
yeah. It raises a lot of very scary points about some of the things that they're doing there. If attack on one is attack on all, that's the treaty. So, you know, what if Vladimir Putin finds himself staring down the barrel of the NATO gun? What's he going to do then? You know, I could see
Well-
low yield nukes on battlefields happening pretty quickly, and then where do they go from there? You know,
Yeah, there's nothing in
it's-
Russian rules of engagement that denounces the use of nuclear weapons. They're still perfectly on the
Yep.
table for Russia.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
they can.
and
Vladimir
here's my
Putin-
question.
A,
Go
either
ahead.
he wants you to think he's crazy enough to use them, or B, he really is crazy enough to use them.
Mhm. I don't think he really is crazy enough, but who knows? They've been
I don't
talking
know
a lot
anymore,
of shit
man.
about him in the
I would've
news
said
that
about
like
how
a
he's
year
been
ago, but now
isolated
I'm
for
not
years
sure.
or something. you
I
know?
seriously think it's C. I think it's both.
You think it's
Yeah.
both? It's a little bit of both.
That's true.
Okay.
Good point.
I like
Yeah.
that's like
He
I
is
think,
crazy,
I think,
and he wants us to think he's crazy. Yeah.
and like my worry is if he uses a nuke, even though it's against Ukraine, who's not part of NATO, what does the
Mhm.
world do then?
What if the fallout falls on? Well, it would have to fall on a NATO nation.
Well, that would be
But no,
Um,
like
that's a completely
that's a
uncharted
different point.
territory. Like we have no
Yeah.
idea how the
Yeah.
world would react.
the world
because-
as a whole would condemn his actions. I mean, like I wouldn't.
Yeah, but would they do
wouldn't put
anything other
China-
than just condemn it? I mean, that's the
I
question.
don't know.
That's-
I don't. Yeah.
to
I don't
me,
know.
that's a scary proposal because again,
Yeah.
like how do you permit someone to drop a nuke on another country?
hmm
Right?
Yeah.
Even though we are the only ones to have done that, and
That was a
everybody was
different
like, "That's
time,
cool."
and Yeah, well, that was a different time and a different circumstance.
Well,
and,
and no one else had nukes at the time.
And we didn't
so.
fully understand it either. So
yeah, and we didn't
Right.
completely get what was going to happen. So
and those are baby nukes compared to what we have now.
yeah,
Oh, I
those
know,
are
right?
like they can almost no, they can't. Never mind, I'm thinking of something different. I was going to say that they can like the Moab, but that was only like 12 equivalent of 12 tons of TNT or something like that. But yeah, not 100 tons like one of the early nukes. So, but anyway, or 1,000 tons. I mean,
but I mean, Russia's already using thermobaric weapons, which are outlawed, international outlawed.
Yep.
So that's
they set
that's a
everything
war
on
crime.
fire.
And what are we doing about it?
Right.
What can we do about it? And that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people out there who are calling for a no-fly zone, which if you want to start World War III, that's the fastest way to do it.
Yeah. Because the first thing Russia's going to do is violate the no-fly zone and get shot. One of their jets gets shot down. And then it's there we go.
Actually, here's the thing that because in order to actually the no-fly zone instituting that is an act of war from the start, because the first thing that you have to do, because it's not just putting your planes up there. Part of a no-fly zone is you have to take out their anti-aircraft weapons.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you already have to fire shots at them before you even establish
that's already an act of war.
So you're in it.
That's people are just like, no, we'll just fly around. No, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. You do that, they're going to shoot you out of the sky.
That is an act of war. Just instituting that.
So the way American air power works is it's exclusionary. You have to take out all of the enemy's defenses against air power, or else we're going to start losing jets every day. You can't control the skies if they can shoot you out of it. So very good point, Scott. Yeah. So
just even instituting the no-fly zones is an act of war, right? Which then, when you and let's say NATO does that, one of the NATO countries does that, right? Because another thing is that's getting scary is, so some of the weapons that they've been using are Turkish weapons by Ukraine, right? And Ukraine's been doing it. What does Russia, do to Turkey then? Do they ever start saying like, well, Turkey, you know what? You're, warring against us because they're using your weapons against us.
Weren't they buddying up to Putin recently a few years ago or something? Yeah.
Turkey gets a lot of. They have a working relationship, and rightfully so, because they're really close to each other.
Yeah.
Right. And so they have a working relationship with Russia, right? And so that's where they denounced, but didn't it was a partial denouncement, because
they are a NATO nation.
Yes, they
are. They do have a whole bunch of American military machinery in their country. So
I think they're the third largest military in NATO or something like that. They have a really big military.
Yeah. Well, they have a bunch of our nukes sitting over there in silos, or at least they used to years ago. Do they still? Or did we decommission those?
I
can't remember. I can't remember.
What my curiosity is that if they were to ever drop a nuke, what do we do then? Because I think you have to have World War III at that point.
Well, there has to be a response. The question is, what is it? And you don't want to answer it with more nukes, but how? I mean,
at that point, you've already
how do you
reached
get around it?
Maximum escalation. You can't really escalate beyond nuclear.
Right.
No, but you could escalate the nuclear war itself
until you blow up the world 5 times over. Yeah.
Right.
Yes, correct. Well, and that's the question.
Would you like to play a game?
Yeah.
Right.
Would you like to play a game?
I'm sorry, I can't do the voice.
No. It's a good reference.
I love that movie.
That was actually that was pretty good.
How about a game of chess? Anyway.
No. And this is where my previous we were talking in our chats about this, it's my issue with the fact that what this signals, and I agree with you, Eric. I think Biden's been really great, because, and Damien, when you to go back with what you said, as far as escalating or alternatives, we've already demolished the ruble.
Oh, it's done.
It's worth less than a penny. Yeah.
Right. Yep. We've taken away all of their investments. They're banned from like basically almost everything. Like there's like, I don't know, like the only response if they were to do that, there's like we've kind of taken away everything. The only response is military, right? Like there, or at least from what I see and what I've, and again, I know nothing, so maybe there are more. But my worry is that.
Well, I think that what they're doing is kind of what somebody else was talking about it on the chat. I don't remember who, but the idea of making the oligarchs so mad at Putin that they stop this in one way or another. They take the Russian retirement, shoot Putin in the head, whatever. They end this one way or another because they're the ones who get pissed off.
Or just, exile him to his friggin', multi-billion-dollar mansion up in the friggin' Urals or wherever it is.
Right.
At least, at the very least.
That's where I was trying. I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
Bringing it back around to the Republican Party is, this whole public announcement by Mr. Graham here. I don't know if y'all read it or heard about it.
I heard about it. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah.
So he called for Putin to be assassinated?
Well, he said, is there a Brutus in Russia? Is there more successful Colonel Stauffenberg in Russian military?
I'm
saying
sure
that out loud is a bad idea.
I'm sure that
that makes
somewhere
he did this. He did this publicly on.
You don't say that. That's the quiet part. You keep it quiet.
Yeah. But I'm
sure somewhere in like back rooms in the Pentagon or at the CIA or whatever, the discussion has been brought up of assassination.
I'm 100% sure.
Yeah. But he's talking about getting the oligarchs, hinting at them to do
on their yachts
for us. But
the surest way to get them to not do it is to tell them to do it. This is Russia we're talking.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just like he's just gonna armor up even more. He's gonna isolate himself. You're not gonna be able to get to him.
He's already ridiculously isolated.
Well, that's fine. He should isolate himself. He should isolate himself in that nice little mansion of his, and the government should just walk away from him and be like, "Yeah, we're done with you. Screw you." All the oligarchs can just build a wall around Putinville and let him starve to death. But whatever. Anyway.
And my worry is that especially someone who's already so paranoid, like you look at that picture of him on one end of this giant table and everybody else on the other, so far away, right? Like someone who's already so paranoid that you worsen that he starts, executing his own people, or his own.
You think he did that because he's paranoid, or because he was trying to prove a point about how much better he was than the other people in the room?
I think it's
on the other end of the table?
Again, that's option
was it paranoia? Like Hitler and the bomb on the table and in the bunker, that one kind of thing. Gotcha.
What,
makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah, what was it with Hitler? The Night of the Long Knives.
Yeah,
where he
might
went
have broken
and had everybody that he believed as a potential threat.
Just take him out.
And executed them.
Take him out. Yeah, half the government.
So I mean,
and when you cloister someone like him, like
Stalin did that too.
We had people that our military was like, which again is worrisome because of the fact that shouldn't exist, because the president should be the leader of the military, and our military should not be creating a coup against the president or overriding the presidential orders, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're afraid, if you're like our leaders were like, if Trump ever calls for the nuclear bomb, do not do anything. Just come to me first, or whatever. I think it is General Mattis that had made
that was Mattis,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's an issue, dude, you're on the cabinet. If you're worried about that, you need to do the 25th Amendment and have him right. Like that's your job. And so you neglected. Like again, you didn't protect the country.
But do they have anything like that in Russia? Is the question. And has he already sequestered enough power to overthrow his own government,
No, like I said, in Russia, the only way to do that is to shoot him in the head. That's a Russian.
And so that's where I'm worried that if he actually makes that claim, they will follow through.
Yeah.
Whereas ours, they may not want to, but he does such a good job with the propaganda, all that stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Russian propaganda machine has been on full force in Russia and here in the United States.
Yes.
Since this all started. I mean, Tucker Carlson. I'm wondering, is he on the the payroll of the Russians or
I
something?
think he's just that stupid.
No, I think he's
He
just
might
an
be.
idiot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he's just saying what he wants. He's just saying something contrary to get attention. He's just an attention whore.
Yeah. I mean, his own lawyers argued that nobody who watches him takes him seriously.
Yeah, there are
the
people
Alex
that take
Jones
no one
defense.
should.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are plenty of
Yes.
people that take him seriously.
Absolutely. But no one should take him seriously because he's
Oh,
just an
agreed.
entertainment, right?
Yeah, it's
That's
news
what they
and
argued.
entertainment.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right. So, but one of the things also, we talk about Tucker Carlson, but this, like, the alleged left also has it too, because people like Jimmy Dore, who used to be on the show that I really like, The Young Turks, and that, he got kicked out because of the fact that he was harassing the women of the women there. But he has taken
But what's
money
his
from
audience is the question.
Well, no. They're very left, right?
No. What's his audience as in how? What does he have? 30 million people that watch him. Yeah.
No. He doesn't.
Yeah,
but he does have a big one. He was like
Young Turks is pretty influential,
right? And Jimmy Dore initially had a lot of people following him that went over there. He's big. He's big enough to even be on Russell Brand's show. Like, so you have a lot of like well-known people like know that talking about this guy. He was, he's been on Tucker Carlson. He's on Tucker Carlson's show. Like he's a guest on Tucker Carlson's a few times. And he gets money from it came out that he got money from Assad, or from a group linked to Assad, who is the dictator of Syria. And he's also pushing Russian apology, has a Russian apology tour also. And so there's some concerns about, so this money, not only is it getting to the right, but it's also getting to like some of the alleged
extremes on either end. Yeah.
Right. And so like, this is a really again, and this goes back to like, where's all this dark money, right? And how it's affecting our politics and everything. So, but we'll have to wrap this one up. It was a really great conversation.
Yep.
And we actually talked about the dystopian future, right?
No, not really. Come on now.
Present, really.
Yeah,
right.
We're kind of circling it, all around the edges here. We're just not quite there.
We're working our way
just
towards
the tip
it.
at this
We're
point.
I mean, if this could be the beginning of it, so anyway.
This is just chapter 2.
This could be the beginning of like one of those movies, like The Road, or
I wonder if there's somebody out there who listened to the first episode and is like tuning into the second, being like, "Oh, I really hope they talk about fatherhood again."
And here we are talking about nuclear war and assassinations of foreign leaders.
Fatherhood, right? This is what fathers talk about. This is, I remember my dad talking about this. Right?
Oh,
absolutely. I'm worried about the future for my family. So we all have.
We're talking
about
it's all about our kids. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Leaving a legacy. How do we protect ourselves? How do we protect the country?
Hoping they don't grow up in a nuclear wasteland. Yeah.
That's right.
None of us want that. I haven't built my bunker yet. It's not done, so we can't do this yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
This was something I was going to be worried about this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get my son in a.
I don't have enough food stockpiled yet. Come on.
Y'all saw that post about like the missile silo that was for sale. I was like, hey, we can have our bunker. There you go.
I literally like looked into that stuff like heavily in like 08 through 12 when I thought our economy was done and that we were gonna at some point have like roving bands of, starving people coming to take everything away. I was like, how much does a missile silo cost? I could live in that. I bet. Yeah. How would it cost to renovate that? Oh, a couple million. Darn. You can buy. You used to be able to buy them for a few $100,000, but now, they're kind of in demand, so the price went up on them. So, anyway.
You have been enjoying the dumpster fire that is From Here to Paternity. And we appreciate you listening, and we look forward to talking for you guys hearing from us back in 2 weeks. So right now we're doing every 2 weeks, and
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Eric, did you want to plug?
Oh, and Eric,
take the time to plug.
I do have another podcast called The Streaming Heap, where we talk about anything streaming, Netflix, that kind of thing. I also have a YouTube channel called The Unapologetic Geek where I talk about a lot of old movies, especially Soylent Green. Go check out the comments on that one because they're a wild west, man. They're great. And yeah, that's it. Or just go to my website at emagill.com. That's EMAGILL.com. I put myself out there all over the place.
And feel free to watch Joe fronting any metal band that you have ever seen in your entire life. With all of his aged glory.
Yeah, and look forward to a potential ASMR podcast coming up.
There you go. Just say words. Just say words with that soul.
I actually thought about grabbing Paradox and just sitting in.
Hey, there you go. I need an audio version.
We're here
That
with
would be
super sounds of the
fantastic.
70s.
Now that I have my signed copy.
I did sign his copy just last week, yeah.
That's right. And if you guys are looking for an excellent book, go on Amazon and check out the book Paradox by our own Eric. It is a wonderful read. It is excellent. Great reviews on it.
And almost made it to space.
Almost made it to space. Yeah. We'll get it there one day, damn it.
Yeah.
I'll just have to throw it really hard.
Yeah.
And after
just talk
he does
to your
that,
son. He'll
be playing
figure out the
for
calculations.
Oh yeah, he'll
for you.
figure it out. He'll give me the calculations. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hyper aroused state, not the good kind either.
Yeah, that's what I'm
No, but in
All
this,
right,
this
Fonz.
persistent, I know. Like,
Are you aroused right now?
I'm not
That
talking
sounds like a
about my
bad commercial.
persistent erection that's there at all times. Like,
It sounds like a commercial for a drug or something. Are you aroused right now? Do you have persistent?
I know. I need the damn anti-Viagra. That's what I need is the anti-Viagra.
Take this little pink pill. It'll fix everything.
Right. I know, instead of the little blue.